Last time on Village Wooing.
Excuse me, could you tell me the time?
The clocks were put on half an hour last night.
You were writing a book about this cruise.
I am trying to.
How thrilling! You will read me what you have written about me, won't you?
Steward!
And now, the continuation.
39. Sorry, no such number. Whom do you want? Dr. Biles. 15. You are through.
I want a packet of milk chocolate.
Thanks very much.
A couple of hard apples.
Thanks very much.
Quarter of a pound of cheddar cheese.
Thanks very much.
Don't interrupt me. You can express your gratitude for the order when I have finished. Quarter of a pound of your best butter, a small loaf of Hovis, and 2 pennyworth of sugared almonds.
Anything else?
No, thank you.
Thanks very much.
Do you sell baskets?
We sell everything. Hadn't you better have a string bag? It's handier, and it packs away almost to nothing when it's empty.
What is a string bag? Show me one.
This is the cheapest. Or would you like a better quality with a zip fastening?
Certainly not. I should have the trouble of opening and shutting it, and the worry of wondering whether it would open or shut, with no compensatory advantage whatsoever.
That's just like you. You're not a bit changed.
What do you mean? I have been in this shop for less than 2 minutes. Why should I have changed in that time?
Excuse me. I shouldn't have mentioned it. Will you take a string bag?
Yes.
Thanks very much. Shall I put the rest of the order into it?
Of course. What else do you suppose I am buying it for? Have you any buttermilk?
Sorry, we don't stock it.
Any ginger beer?
Yes, we have a very good local brew.
Shove a bottle into the string bag.
Thanks very much.
How many times a day do you say thanks very much?
Depends on the number of orders.
Don't say it to me again if you don't mind. It gets on my nerves.
It used to get on mine at first, but I am used to it.
Have you a guidebook of this village?
Sorry, there's a leaflet in the church written by the vicar. You are expected to put a 2d in the box for it. Excuse me, but the chocolates are 2d, 6d, and a shilling. Which size would you run to?
It is a poor heart that never rejoices. I will have a shilling one.
Thanks very much.
Don't.
Excuse me, I can't help it. I say it without thinking, same as if you touched a button.
Someone has touched the button.
What number, please? Whitehall, 1, 2. I will ring you. Whitehall, 1212. Yes? That's a police call.
You need not point the information at me. I am not the criminal.
Oh, it isn't a criminal. Somebody that's been broadcasted on the wireless as lost. You know the sort of thing. Missing from his home since January the 1st. Last seen in a deck chair on the Empress of Patagonia talking to a female. Suffering from loss of memory?
How extraordinary.
Excuse me. You are through to Whitehall?
You have hit on an extraordinary coincidence. I wonder whether you'll believe me when I tell you that in January last, I was sitting on the deck of a ship named the Empress of Patagonia, and that I was talking to a female. Or rather, she was talking to me. How that woman did talk.
And are you suffering from loss of memory?
Certainly not. I never forget anything.
Oh, then it can't be you, can it?
There! Can it? That woman always finished up with, can it? Won't it? Isn't it? So that you had to answer her out of common politeness. Take care never to pick up that trick, or you will be murdered someday.
Some people are like that. It often goes with blue-colored eyes. Did you notice the color of her eyes?
No, I never notice things like that. I am not a detective. It is people's characters that impress me. I can't tell you the color of her hair or the shape of her nose, but I can tell you that she was a most fearful nuisance. How much does that all come to?
The string bag 6d, chocolates a shilling, 1 and 6d. The ginger beers...
Spare me the details. Will 10 shillings cover it?
Oh, yes, of course. You shouldn't be so careless about money.
Cease preaching. Take it and give me the change.
Let me see. 18 pence and 4 pence for the ginger beer is 1 and 10 pence, isn't it?
Have I denied it?
Cheese 3p, 2 and a penny. Butter 6p, 2 and 7p. Apples we sell by the pound. Hadn't you better have a pound?
How many to the pound?
3.
I cannot eat more than 2 apples at a time. Charge me for a pound and eat the odd one yourself.
Oh, well, say 3p for 2. That's 2 and 10p, isn't it?
I don't know.
Hovis, 2p halfpenny. 3 shillings and a half. Do you happen to have a halfpenny to save having to take 5p halfpenny in coppers?
I hate halfpennies. I always throw them away. Stop. I have one. Here.
Thanks very much. 3, 4, 5, 7, and 6, 10. Thanks very much.
Don't you find it rather dull in this village shop saying thanks very much all day?
No matter where you are doing the same thing all day and every day, aren't you? The only way to get it off your mind is to live in the same place and stick at the same job. Then you never have to think about it. That's the way the people live here, and they live for ever so long. 80's no age here. Grandfather will be 102 in August. That's because he's never had to worry about what he'll do or where he'll go. He just imagines and imagines. It's the only way to be happy and long-lived.
But if your imagination has only one village in it, it must be pretty bare. How would you like to live in a room with only one chair in it?
Well, if you only have one seat, what more do you want than one chair? Up at the castle there are 36 chairs of one sort or another in the big drawing room, but Lady Flopping can't flop on more than one, can she?
May I suggest that you flop on that one while we talk?
Thanks very much.
I am not interrupting your work, I hope. There is nothing so maddening as to be talked to when you want to work.
Talking is part of the work in a village shop.
Tell me, do you ever read?
I used to read travels and guidebooks. We used to stock the Marco Polo series. I was mad about traveling. I had daydreams about the glory that was Greece, the grandeur that was Rome, and all that flapdoodle.
Flapdoodle?
Well, I suppose I shouldn't call it that, but it ended in me going to Rome and Athens. They were all right, but the old parts were half knocked down, and I couldn't see any glory or grandeur different from Cheltenham. I was glad to be home again, and I had so wanted to meet the Marco Polo man and walk about with him in the ruins by moonlight and hear him go on about them.
The Marco Polo man? The milkman, the postman, the muffin man, the Marco Polo man. Some frustrated poet earning his crust by quoting scraps of verse to bring the call of the East to dreaming telephone girls.
Operators.
Operators don't dream. Girls. Girls of the Golden West. Did that poor devil never bring you the call of the East?
I'd read about it in novels and seen it on the films. They were all about moony drunkards and sheiks and the sort of girls that go dotty about them. I went right round the world to see the reality. Pretty places, of course, but the heat and the mosquitoes and the smells. Oof. Traveling just destroyed the world for me as I imagined it. Give me this village all the time.
Had you no thrill when you stood somewhere where a poet had said, "Stop, for thy tread is on an empire's dust"?
A guide, you mean. They take the poetry out of anything, and all the time you're thinking what you ought to give them. If you fancy empire's dust and all that sort of thing, you should meet our vicar and start him talking about the standing stones and the barrows on the downs and the mound. Every grain of dust, he says, is full of history. Same everywhere, I expect.
Are you married?
No. Why? Have you any intentions?
Don't be in a hurry. We've known each other less than 10 minutes.
How much better do you think you will know me when we have talked for 20 years?
That is profoundly true. Still, I must think it over.
Nobody would ever marry if they thought it over. You've got to take your chance, no matter how long you think.
You are in a hurry.
Well, I am past the age at which girls marry here, though I'm the pick of this village. That's because I thought all my offers over. So I've made up my mind to take the next man that asks me, provided he's reasonably suitable.
Do I strike you as being reasonably suitable?
Well, I think I have the sort of common sense you need to keep you straight. And you being a widower know what to expect from a woman. An inexperienced man expects the earth.
How do you know that I'm a widower?
You told me.
Did I? When did I tell you?
Never mind, you did. I have noticed you have a bad memory, but I have a very good one, so it won't matter.
Steady, steady. I have not yet made myself liable to an action for breach of promise.
Don't be afraid. I'm not that sort. We don't consider it respectable here.
Should I get any money with you? Do you own the shop?
No. All the money I ever had I blew on a trip round the world. But Mrs. Ward is getting too old for the business. She couldn't run it now without me. If you could afford to buy her an annuity, she'd sell it.
I don't know how much annuities cost.
You'll find it in the Whitaker's Almanac.
This is rather upsetting. Somehow I have always taken it for granted that when I married again, I'd marry a woman with money.
Oh, that wouldn't suit you at all. She'd want to spend it going into society and traveling about. How could you bear that sort of life? You, that never spoke to anyone on the ship and wouldn't take any part in their games and dances. When it got about that you were the Marco Polo man, the man of all our dreams, as you might say, I made a bet that I'd get you to talk to me. And I had all the trouble in the world to win it.
Do you mean to say that we have met before? That you were on that trip around the world?
Of course I do. But you never notice anything. You're always reading or writing. The world doesn't exist for you. You never looked at me, really. You're shy with strangers, aren't you?
I am absolutely certain I never spoke to any woman on that ship. If I talk to women, they always want to marry me.
Well, there you are, you see. The moment I set my eyes on you, I said to myself, now that's the sort of man that would suit me as a husband. I'd have said it even if you hadn't been the Marco Polo man.
Love at first sight?
Oh, no. If I fell in love with a man, I'd never marry him. He could make me so miserable. But there was something about you. I don't exactly know what. But it made me feel that I could do with you in the house. And then I could fall in love with anyone I liked without any fear of making a fool of myself. I suppose it was because you are one of the quiet sort and don't run after women.
How do you know that I don't run after women?
Well, if you want to know, it's because you didn't run after me. You mightn't believe it, but men do run after me.
Why?
Oh, how do I know? They don't know themselves. But the lot of money they spend on things they don't want merely to come in and have a look at me and a word with me, you wouldn't believe. It's worth at least £20 a year to the business.
I shouldn't call you a pretty woman.
Oh, I'm not pretty, but what you might call desirable, don't you think?
No, I don't think. May I explain? I am a man of letters and a gentleman. I am accustomed to associate with ladies. That means that I am accustomed to speak under certain well-understood reserves which act as a necessary protection to both parties. You are not a lady. You are a villager, but somebody has educated you, probably the church or the local authority, to a point at which you can impose on unobservant and unwary travelers. You have had finishing lessons on the telephone, which will give you a distinguished articulation. You can say 3, 5, 9 instead of 3, 5, 9, but you have not acquired any of the reserves. You say what you think. You announce all the plans that well-bred women conceal. You play with your cards on the table instead of keeping them where a lady should keep them. Up your sleeve.
Well, where's the harm?
Oh, no harm. Quite the contrary. But I feel rushed.
What do you mean, rushed?
Rushed. Precipitated. Carried to lengths I had no intention of going to.
Well, it gets you somewhere, doesn't it?
Yes, but where?
Here. There's no mystery about it. Here. In a good business, in a village shop, in a quiet place, with me to keep it straight and look after you.
May I ask how much that expression, looking after me, includes? Let me be clear on the point. As a matter of fact, I possess a small property which I could sell for enough to purchase an annuity for old Mrs. Williams.
Ward.
I believe I have enough to purchase annuities for both Mrs. Ward and Mrs. Williams, as they are presumably both centenarians. But why on earth should I complicate the transaction by marrying you? I could pay you your present wages.
Salary.
I beg your pardon, salary. You will retain your present position as my shop girl.
Shop assistant.
I beg your pardon, shop assistant. You can then make your own matrimonial arrangements and leave me to make mine.
Oh, I'll make my own matrimonial arrangements all right enough. You may depend on that.
Excuse me, I added, and leave me to make mine. Can I depend on you for that also?
Well, we'll see.
No, you will not see.
Well, what?
I don't know what. I will not commit myself. We'll see.
Just so. We'll see. It's a bargain, then.
No, it most certainly is not a bargain. When I entered the shop half an hour ago, I had not the faintest notion of buying a village shop or marrying a village maiden or any of the things you have put into my head. Have you ever read the fable of the spider and the fly?
No, but I used to sing a song called The Honeysuckle and the Bee.
Good morning.
You're forgetting your things.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
No.
Next time on Village Wooing.
Morning, boss.
Crusoe drew up a balance sheet of the advantages and disadvantages of being cast away on a desert island. I am drawing up a similar balance sheet.
You are a silly boss.
To whom does the shop belong?
You are tiresome. Take a month's notice.
A month's notice because I refuse to marry some ridiculous village maiden or illiterate widow with whom I could not hold a moment's conversation.
Who are the what? Oh, the parties. Of course. Well, it's for...
Want to help us make more content like this? Go to canadahelps.org and donate today. To learn more about us, go to tagtheatre.com. Links are in the description. This has been Radio Tag, a Theatre Arts Guild production. Thank you for supporting community theatre.